Hello. So I am glad to see you all, and I hope that you are doing well. It has been a hard weekend here for the Pinocchio family, but we are doing okay. And I am not feeling much up to anything, but I am excited and happy to read the word with you. I was like, well, you know what? What else can I do but sit? I'm not feeling well, but this will be a good thing for us to do together. And recently, I have been um, challenged by multiple people and just realizing that a lot of the world, even the Christian world, does not believe um, the first part of the Bible is true and literal. And I just want to read those parts today. Hopefully, we can get through the first 11 chapters of Genesis. This is what people really are contesting today as literal. I am not saying that every single word of the Bible is to be taken literally. Of course, there are poetry parts of the Bible and there are parables that Jesus tells, but I think that this part of the Bible is very clear as a historical narrative, and I would just challenge you today to listen as if this were true. If you're having doubts or if you've never heard it before, I want you to challenge yourself to take this as true. Um, if you believe in God and you believe in Jesus, that he created the world, that he rose from the dead, why could he not have created the world in 6 literal days? Why could he not have made it so that men lived longer originally and shortened the days as he saw fit? So I want you to listen. I want you to learn. If you gain nothing from this but to just learn what the Bible says, because we don't always get immediate application points from everything we read in the Bible, but that doesn't mean it's not useful. And God may speak to you through these words on something you need to do differently. He may convict you of sin. He very well may, because there's some really good verses in here that I think are super powerful. However, if you miss those and you are just taken aback by what is said, I want you to just take that in and listen and know what God's word says. You need to know what God says. And I know the genealogies might seem long or boring, but they are how people have come up with the young earth model of the world. So they are literally taking these years that are spelled out in the Bible of people's ages, and they are able to put that together. And I'm sure you can find more videos, more resources on how that's actually done, because I'm not going to do that right now here. I'm going to read the scriptures to you, but I'm not going to add all the math together right now. We could do that later, or we can give you resources for that. But this is just reading the scriptures, and I want to challenge you to believe them. Believe what God says. Believe what he has had people write down as true through his spirit. So without further ado, this pillow on the floor is bothering me. Sorry. Let's begin. Actually, I'm going to put it back behind my back. Let's begin with I'm reading from the World English Bible just because it's not copyrighted, but you can read from any other translation you would like to after I read it and see which one you like better. All right, I'm reading from, this says, the first book of Moses, commonly called Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty. Darkness was on the surface of the deep, and God's Spirit was hovering over the surface of the waters. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light and saw that it was good. God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was evening and there was morning, the first day. God said, "Let there be an expanse in the middle of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." God made the expanse and divided the waters which were under the expanse from the waters which were above the expanse. And it was so. God called the expanse sky. There was evening and there was morning, a second day. God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters he called seas. God saw that it was good. God said, "Let the earth yield grass, herbs yielding seeds, and fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, with their seeds in it, on the earth." And it was so. The earth yielded grass, herbs yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit, with their seeds in it, after their kind. And God saw that it was good. There was evening and there was morning, the third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs to mark seasons, days, and years. And let them be for lights in the expanse of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He also made the stars. God set them in the expanse of the sky to give light to the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good. There was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. God said, "Let the waters abound with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the sky." God created the large sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed, after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." There was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. God said, "Let the earth produce living creatures after their kind, livestock, creeping things, and animals of the earth after their kind." And it was so. God made the animals of the earth after their kind, and the livestock after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. God saw that it was good. God said, "Let's make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." God created man in his own image. In God's image he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them. God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb yielding seed, which is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which bears fruit yielding seed. It will be your food. To every animal of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food." And it was so. God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, a sixth day. The heavens, the earth, and all their vast array were finished. On the seventh day, God finished his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because he rested in it from all his work of creation which he had done. This is the history of the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created. In the day that Yahweh God made the earth and the heavens, no plant of the field was yet in the earth, and no herb of the field had yet sprung up, for Yahweh God had not caused it to rain on the earth. There was not a man to till the ground, but a mist went up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Yahweh God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Yahweh God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Out of the ground Yahweh God made every tree to grow that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, including the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it was parted and became the source of 4 rivers. The name of the first is Pishon. It flows through the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is good. Bdellium and onyx stone are also there. The name of the second river is the Gihon. It is the same river that flows through the whole land of Cush. The name of the third river is Hiddekel. This is the one which flows in front of Assyria. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Yahweh God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to cultivate and keep it. Yahweh God commanded the man, saying, "You may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but you shall not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day that you eat of it, you will surely die." Yahweh God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." Out of the ground, Yahweh God formed every animal of the field, every bird of the sky, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Whatever the man called every living creature became its name. The man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the sky, and to every animal of the field. But for man there was not found a helper comparable to him. Yahweh God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. As the man slept, he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Yahweh God made a woman from the rib which he had taken from the man and brought her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore, a man will leave his father and his mother and will join with his wife, and they will be one flesh." The man and his wife were both naked, and they were not ashamed. Chapter 3. Now the serpent was more subtle than any animal of the field which Yahweh God had made. He said to the woman, "Has God really said, 'You shall not eat of any tree of the garden'?" The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees of the garden, but not the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden. God has said, 'You shall not eat of it. You shall not touch it, lest you die.'" The serpent said to the woman, "You won't really die, for God knows that in the day you eat it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. Then she gave some to her husband with her, and he ate it too. Their eyes were opened, and they both knew that they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. They heard Yahweh God's voice walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh God among the trees of the garden. Yahweh God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" The man said, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself." God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate it." Yahweh God said to the woman, "What have you done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." Yahweh God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed above all livestock and above every animal of the field. You shall go on your belly, and you shall eat dust all the days of your life. I will put hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. You will bear children in pain. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To Adam he said, because you have listened to your wife's voice and have eaten from the tree about which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. The ground is cursed for your sake. You will eat from it with much labor all the days of your life. It will yield thorns and thistles to you, and you will eat the herb of the field. You will eat bread by the sweat of your face until you return to the ground, for you were taken out of it. For you are dust, and you shall return to dust. The man called his wife Eve because she would be the mother of all the living. Yahweh God made garments of animal skins for Adam and for his wife and clothed them. Yahweh God said, behold, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now, lest he reach out his hand and also take of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore Yahweh God sent him out from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed cherubim at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way to guard the way to the tree of life. The man knew Eve, his wife. She conceived and gave birth to Cain, and said, I have gotten a man with Yahweh's help. Again she gave birth to Cain's brother Abel. Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. As time passed, Cain brought an offering to Yahweh from the fruit of the ground. Abel also brought some of the firstborn of his flock and of its fat. Yahweh respected Abel and his offering, but he didn't respect Cain and his offering. Cain was very angry, and the expression on his face fell. Yahweh said to Cain, why are you angry? Why has the expression of your face fallen? If you do well, you won't it be lifted up? If you don't do well, sin crouches at the door. Its desire is for you, but you are to rule over it. Cain said to Abel his brother, let's go into the field. While they were in the field, Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Yahweh said to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? He said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Yahweh said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries to me from the ground. Now you are cursed because of the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. From now on, when you till the ground, it won't yield its strength to you. You will be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. Cain said to Yahweh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out today from the surface of the ground. I will be hidden from your face, and I will be a fugitive and a wanderer in the earth. Whoever finds me will kill me. Yahweh said to him, therefore, whoever slays Cain, vengeance will be taken on him sevenfold. Yahweh appointed a sign for Cain so that anyone finding him would not strike him. Cain left Yahweh's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife. She conceived and gave birth to Enoch. He built a city and named the city after the name of his son, Enoch. Irad was born to Enoch. Irad became the father of Mehujael. Mehujael became the father of Methushael. Methushael became the father of Lamech. Lamech took 2 wives. The name of the first was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. Adah gave birth to Jabal, who was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. His brother's name was Jubal, who was the father of all who handle the harp and pipe. Zillah also gave birth to Tubal-Cain, the forger of every cutting instrument of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain's sister was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice. You wives of Lamech, listen to my speech. For I have slain a man for wounding me, a young man for bruising me. If Cain will be avenged 7 times, truly Lamech 77 times. Adam knew his wife again. She gave birth to a son and named him Seth, saying, For God has given me another child instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. A son was also born to Seth, and he named him Enosh. At that time, men began to call on Yahweh's name. Chapter 5. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, he made him in God's likeness. He created them male and female and blessed them. On the day they were created, he named them Adam. Adam lived 130 years and became the father of a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. Then the days of Adam after he became the father of Seth were 800 years, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days that Adam lived were 930 years. Then he died. Seth lived 105 years, then became the father of Enosh. Seth lived after he became the father of Enosh 807 years, and he became the father of other sons and daughters. All of the days of Seth were 912 years, then he died. Enosh lived 90 years and became the father of Kenan. Enosh lived after he became the father of Kenan 815 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All of the days of Enosh were 905 years, then he died. Kenan lived 70 years, then became the father of Mahalalel. Kenan lived after he became the father of Mahalalel 840 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters, and all of the days of Kenan were 910 years, then he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years, then became the father of Jared. Mahalalel lived after he became the father of Jared 830 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All of the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, then he died. Jared lived 162 years, then became the father of Enoch. Jared lived after he became the father of Enoch 800 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All of the days of Jared were 962 years, then he died. Enoch lived 65 years, then became the father of Methuselah. After Methuselah's birth, Enoch walked with God for 300 years, and became the father of more sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not found, for God took him. Methuselah lived 187 years, then became the father of Lamech. Methuselah lived after he became the father of Lamech 782 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Methuselah were 969 years, then he died. Lamech lived 182 years, then became the father of a son. He named him Noah, saying, "This one will comfort us in our work and in the toil of our hands, caused by the ground which Yahweh has cursed." Lamech lived after he became the father of Noah 595 years, and became the father of other sons and daughters. All the days of Lamech were 777 years, then he died. Noah was 500 years old, then Noah became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 6. When men began to multiply on the surface of the ground, and daughters were born to them, God's sons saw that men's daughters were beautiful, and they took any that they wanted for themselves as wives. Yahweh said, "My spirit will not strive with man forever, because he also is flesh, so his days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when God's sons came into men's daughters and had children with them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of man's heart was continually only evil. Yahweh was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. Yahweh said, "I will destroy man, whom I have created from the surface of the ground, man, along with animals, creeping things, and birds of the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them." But Noah found favor in Yahweh's eyes. This is the history of the generations of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. Noah walked with God. Noah became the father of 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. God saw the earth and saw that it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. God said to Noah, "I will bring an end to all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them and the earth. Make a ship of gopher wood. You shall make rooms in the ship, and shall seal it inside and outside with pitch. This is how you shall make it. The length of the ship shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, and its height 30 cubits. You shall make a roof in the ship, and you shall finish it to a cubit upward. You shall set the door of the ship in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third levels. I, even I, will bring the flood of waters on this earth to destroy all flesh having the breath of life from under the sky. Everything that is in the earth will die, but I will establish my covenant with you. You shall come into the ship, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Of every living thing, of all flesh, you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ship, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, of the livestock after their kind, of every creeping thing of the ground after its kind, 2 of every sort will come to you, to keep them alive. Take with you some of all food that is eaten, and gather it to yourself, and it will be for food for you and for them. Thus Noah did. He did all that God commanded him. Chapter 7. Yahweh said to Noah, Come with all of your household into the ship, for I have seen your righteousness before me in this generation. You shall take 7 pairs of every clean animal with you, the male and his female. Of the animals that are not clean, take 2, the male and his female. Also of the birds of the sky, 7 and 7, male and female, to keep seed alive on the surface of all the earth. In 7 days I will cause it to rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. I will destroy every living thing that I have made from the surface of the ground. Noah did everything that Yahweh commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters came on the earth. Noah went into the ship with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives because of the flood waters. Clean animals, unclean animals, birds, and everything that creeps on the ground went by pairs to Noah into the ship, male and female, as God commanded Noah. After the 7 days, the flood waters came on the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the sky's windows opened. It rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. In the same day Noah and Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them, entered into the ship. They, and every animal after its kind, all the livestock after their kind, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its kind, and every bird after its kind, every bird of every sort. Pairs from all flesh with the breath of life in them went into the ship to Noah. Those who went in male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him. Then Yahweh shut him in. The flood was 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and lifted up the ship, and it was lifted up above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ship floated on the surface of the waters. The waters rose very high on the earth. All the high mountains that were under the whole sky were covered. The waters rose 15 cubits higher, and the mountains were covered. All flesh died that moved on the earth, including birds, livestock, animals, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man. All on the dry land, in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life, died. Every living thing was destroyed that was on the surface of the ground, including man, livestock, creeping things, and birds of the sky. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ship. The waters flooded the earth 150 days. Chapter 8. God remembered Noah, all the animals, and all the livestock that were with him in the ship, and God made a wind to pass over the earth. The waters subsided. The deep's fountains and the sky's windows were also stopped, and the rain from the sky was restrained. The waters continually receded from the earth. After the end of 150 days, the waters receded. The ship rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month on Ararat's mountains. The waters receded continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were visible. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened a window of the ship which he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the waters were dried up from the earth. He himself sent out a dove to see if the waters were abated from the surface of the ground. But the dove found no place to rest her foot, and she returned into the ship to him, for the waters were on the surface of the whole earth. He put out his hand and took her, and brought her to him into the ship. He waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out of the ship. The dove came back to him at evening, and, behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from the earth. He waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, and she didn't return to him any more. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from the earth. Noah removed the covering of the ship and looked. He saw that the surface of the ground was dry. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ship, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, including birds, livestock, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. Noah went out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, whatever moves on the earth, after their families, went out of the ship. Noah built an altar to Yahweh, and took of every clean animal, and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Yahweh smelled the pleasant aroma. Yahweh said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, because the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. I will never again strike every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seedtime and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night will not cease. God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you will be on every animal of the earth, and on every bird of the sky. Everything that moves along the ground, and all the fish of the sea are delivered into your hand. Every moving thing that lives will be food for you. As I gave you the green herb, I have given everything to you. But flesh with its life, that is, its blood, you shall not eat. I will surely require accounting for your life's blood. At the hand of every animal I will require it. At the hand of man, even at the hand of every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, his blood will be shed by man. For God made man in his own image. Be fruitful and multiply. Increase abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, As for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every animal of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ship, even every animal of the earth. I will establish my covenant with you. All flesh will not be cut off any more by the waters of the flood. There will never again be a flood to destroy the earth. God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it will be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. When I bring a cloud over the earth, that the rainbow will be seen in the cloud, I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters will no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow will be in the cloud. I will look at it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. The sons of Noah who went out from the ship were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. Noah began to be a farmer and planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and got drunk. He was uncovered within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it on both their shoulders, went in backwards, and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were backwards, and they didn't see their father's nakedness. Noah woke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him. He said, "Canaan is cursed. He will be a servant of servants to his brothers." He said, "Blessed be Yahweh, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be a servant. May God enlarge Japheth. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant." Noah lived 350 years after the flood. All the days of Noah were 950 years. Then he died. Chapter 10. Now this is the history of the generations of the sons of Noah and of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. The sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The sons of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. Of these were the islands of the nations, divided in their lands, everyone after his language, after their families, in their nations. The sons of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The sons of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabteka. The sons of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. Cush became the father of Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before Yahweh. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Out of that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, and Resen, between Nineveh and the great city Calah. Mizraim became the father of Ludim, Anamim, Lahabim, Naphtuhim, Pathrusim, Casluhim, which the Philistines descended from, and Caphtorim. Canaan became the father of Sidon, his firstborn, Heth, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterward, the families of the Canaanites were spread abroad. The border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as you go toward Gerar to Gaza, as you go toward Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim to Lasha. These are the sons of Ham and their families, according to their languages, in their lands and their nations. Children were also born to Shem, the elder brother of Japheth, the father of all the children of Eber. The sons of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arpachshad became the father of Shelah. Shelah became the father of Eber. To Eber were born two sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of Almodad, Shalef, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. Their dwelling extended from Mesha, as you go toward Sephar, the mountain of the east. These are the sons of Shem, by their families, according to their languages, lands, and nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, by their generations, according to their nations. The nations divided from these in the earth after the flood. Chapter 11. The whole earth was of one language and of one speech. As they traveled east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they lived there. They said to one another, "Come, let's make bricks and burn them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. They said, "Come, let's build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top reaches to the sky, and let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth." Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. Yahweh said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing will be withheld from them which they intend to do. Come, let's go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So Yahweh scattered them abroad from there on the surface of all the earth. They stopped building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth. From there, Yahweh scattered them abroad on the surface of all the earth. This is the history of the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he became the father of Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. Shem lived 500 years after he became the father of Arpachshad, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Arpachshad lived 35 years and became the father of Shelah. Arpachshad lived 403 years after he became the father of Shelah, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Shelah lived 30 years and became the father of Eber. Shelah lived 403 years after he became the father of Eber, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and became the father of Peleg. Eber lived 430 years after he became the father of Peleg, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and became the father of Reu. Peleg lived 209 years after he became the father of Reu, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and became the father of Serug. Reu lived 207 years after he became the father of Serug, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and became the father of Nahor. Serug lived 200 years after he became the father of Nahor, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and became the father of Terah. Nahor lived 119 years after he became the father of Terah, and became the father of more sons and daughters. Terah lived 70 years and became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now this is the history of the generations of Terah. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran became the father of Lot. Haran died in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldees, while his father Terah was still alive. Abram and Nahor married wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, who was also the father of Iksa. Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terah took Abram his son, Lot the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. They went from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. They came to Haran and lived there. The days of Terah were 205 years. Terah died in Haran. That's the end of Genesis chapters 1 through 11. Please forgive me if I mispronounced the names of people in this book. I do not know how to pronounce them. I made my best guesses. I just want to say a couple things. The first chapter and the first couple verses of chapter 2 are talking through each day of creation. One is the light and darkness. 2 is the expanse in the middle of the waters, basically the sky, the creation of the sky, and separating it from the waters. Day number 3 is the green plants, all sorts of green plants. Day 4 fills what God created in day 1. In day 4, the moon, the sun, and the stars were made. Day 5 fills what was created in day 2. Birds and fish, all sorts of creatures in the air, all sorts of creatures in the sea were made. And day 6 filled what God created in day 3. First, he made all sorts of land animals, but then he also made man. And the very last day of the week, he rested. And that is where God models the first Sabbath day, the first rest day ever. He didn't need to rest. God doesn't need to sleep. He doesn't get tired, but he modeled it for us. So, chapter 2 is a retelling of the story, but it's in a different way. So the first chapter is outlining what happened, a chronicle of each day of the week. But chapter 2 is a story of God creating man, giving more details to the creation of man and woman. It shows how God gave Adam, the first man, the job of naming all the animals, and basically brought all these animals by him, and none of those animals were best to be his special helper in life. So God put Adam into a deep sleep, he gave him a good nap, and then he created Eve. It says from his rib. Obviously she was bigger than that. God created all sorts of things. He was in creating from nothing, but he chose to use part of the first man to make the first woman. And so the woman was created to be the special helper for the man. Chapter 3, we start going into the fall. This is what they call the fall. This is a huge deal. This is a huge deal chapter. So back in chapter 2, God gave a command, and it was commanded to the man. He must have had to tell the woman because it was commanded to him before woman was created. He said, you can't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for in the day of eat it, you will surely die. So any tree he could have eaten from. There was also the tree of life. He was allowed at that point to eat from it, but he didn't choose to eat from it that we know of. So there's a serpent. It's commonly believed that the devil indwelled the serpent. It doesn't say that, but maybe the animals talked. I really wonder if the animals talked, because the woman didn't seem surprised at this. At this point, she talked back to the serpent and had a conversation with the serpent. We think it's like a snake, not entirely sure, but before the snake was cursed and didn't have any legs. So the serpent, either way, whatever exactly kind of animal it is, talks to the woman and convinces her she should eat from the tree that is forbidden. So she does, and immediately hands the fruit over to her husband Adam. They both eat the fruit and they realize they're naked and they feel shameful. They start trying to make clothes for themselves. I could talk through all of these things. There's so much more. Obviously, this is very interesting, this history of our world. Chapter 4 is the first brothers killing one another. The first son kills the next one, and it's so sad. Chapter 5 is a genealogy. It even says how old they were when they had the child, and then that there were other sons and daughters, and it says when each person died. And then chapter 6 starts talking about Noah and the flood, what happened. That continues through chapter 9. And then chapter 10 is another genealogy. It's continued after Noah. So we have chapter 5 that goes up until Noah, I believe. Yep. And then chapter 10 continues with Noah, because we've got a couple chapters of the story of the flood. Very, very important story. Everybody died except these 8 people in the ark. And so then chapter 10 is another genealogy. And then chapter 11 is the Tower of Babel. So before this, everybody had one language, and then they were trying to disobey God, not spread out on the earth as God had commanded them to. And they wanted to be greater than God and build themselves a tower and be really great. And God did not like this, and so he confused their languages. And so we know each family has their own language, and they spread out on the earth because they couldn't really understand each other, and so God forced them to do what he wanted them to do. And then it continues actually after that, with some more genealogies. And then it starts going into the story of Abram, who becomes Abraham later. I want to say that there is nothing different in chapters 12 going on. Like, the language it's not a new book. Chapter 12 does start following the family line of Abraham, but I'm not saying it's not different. I'm just saying it's one book. There's not like a line between 11 and 12, like, oh, it's a new book. Like, there's no distinction that says this part's metaphorical and the next part is literal. The way you read this reads as if you were to read it as actual history, as actual facts, actual years, days, and times. And that is what I have been taught, but I've also been taught, I've heard other things, but this is what it seems pretty obvious to me. I would encourage and challenge you to ask if you believe part of it's literal, part of it's metaphorical. What is the difference? Because it does not seem to be any different. This seems to read as a history, and I think you've got to make a choice. Do you take the Bible for what it is as a history? Because this just flows into the next part of the book, and Genesis flows very seamlessly into the next book, which is Exodus. And so I would ask you, if you don't take the first part literally and you take it metaphorically, why do you take the rest of the books literally? Or do you? I would really challenge that. And if that's not where you're at, you're just taking it literally right now, praise the Lord. And just I would love to hear in your comments anything interesting that you noticed, anything that you were surprised about, liked to hear. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy whatever weather you have. We have snow and cold and a lot of January weather here in New Jersey. But hope you're all doing well. Have a wonderful rest of your day.